Hey everybody, welcome to Behind the Clipboard. I'm so excited today to have Thomas White, aka DJ TRex. Hey Thomas.
Hey Kelly, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we have gone back and forth a lot. We actually, the first time I had the pleasure of being introduced to you was actually I attended a wedding that you DJ'd,
Yes.
and I had such an amazing time on the dance floor. I asked my friend, I was like, I need this DJ's name. Like, I need to have him in our vendor list to hand out to people. And so we do have some weddings scheduled, and we've been able to collaborate during COVID. So I'm really excited that we've been able
Yeah,
to partnership and get to talk today.
awesome.
So let's start out with getting to know you a little bit. So tell me who Thomas is, who DJ TRex is. Tell me your story.
Sure. So yeah, as you said, Thomas White, DJ TRex is the business that I started up roughly 11 years ago at this point while I was randomly living out in Los Angeles. I moved from Boston and did a 2-year stint out there. And that was basically the birth and starting place of actual DJ TRex. I started by chance DJing at a local kind of dive bar in the Hollywood area. And I was doing that on Sunday nights. And from there, before I moved back to Boston, a couple of my friends were getting married and asked me to do their wedding. And at first I was like, yeah, sure, that sounds fun. And, completely different experience for me. And so I did that wedding in 2009, the summer of '09. And to this day, it's one of the best DJ experiences I've ever had. So upon moving back to Boston in fall of '09, I kept pushing the bar gigs for years, just bouncing around different bars in Boston, and just kept pushing the wedding scene. Never knew how serious I was really going to get with it. So it started off a little slow with, a couple weddings the first year, maybe 5 or 10 the next year, so on, all word of mouth through friends and people that attended those weddings. And it just grew into what it is now. And I'm averaging around 30 weddings a year or so at this point for the last 5-6 years. And yeah, I mean, it's my life, it's my passion, and it's a blast to do. So yeah.
What do you think about it is what kind of drew you to it? Like, what about when you were doing that first wedding and you're like, that was the best experience? It was like, oh my gosh, this is what I have to be doing.
Yeah, I think because at that point I'd been in a bar scene, club scene, for about a year and a half, and that was all I knew was DJing from 10 to 3 in the morning, and it's a blast, but it's such a different animal compared to doing a wedding.
Yeah.
And doing that first wedding was such a unique experience for me, with demographic of a crowd being so diverse and age ranges, and just having the ability to kind of open format the dance floor with just cross-generational music and time periods, which you don't really get to do in a bar setting. You're a little more limited to what that night calls for. So for me, yeah, it was, to this day, like, that first wedding stands out in my head every wedding I do, just because it was so exciting and so new. And I still kind of have that energy with all the weddings I do now, where they're all unique, they're all different. Each couple wants different music. The crowds are completely different. You never know what you're ultimately walking into. So that is just what keeps it fun and motivating for me to keep doing. So.
Yeah, definitely. Every wedding is so unique. Every dance floor is different. So you really have to be able to read it. Which that kind of brings us really perfectly into our hot topic for today. So a DJ can totally make or break a wedding. One of the first questions we ask couples when we sit down with them and talk about with them their vision for their wedding is, what do you want it to feel like? And I'd say 9 out of 10 times we get, well, we want everyone on the dance floor.
Right.
And, that's really great if you have a party crew and you've got people that for sure are going to be on the dance floor. But sometimes you've got two different side families that don't know each other and maybe feel comfortable coming together, or all different groups of friends and people don't really know each other. So the dance floor can definitely be a place to bring everyone together and, really celebrate. And the DJ is such an important part of that, and just the wedding in whole. So what do you feel like are really important things that, you know, you see as being a DJ that always contribute to kind of really making a wedding?
Sure. I think with a DJ in particular, especially if you're going to compare that to even a live band, um, you know, a DJ is very mobile with setups. Um, we don't take up too much space, which I think a very positive thing. Um, we also have access to, you know, roughly 40, 50,000 songs at our fingertips on our laptops. It's just, you have a range of diversity with the music right there at your fingertips. I think also too, what can really make or break a wedding with a DJ is just knowing that you're working with someone that's going to personalize that day for you.
Mhm.
I've had couples email me that have, you know, kind of been shopping around, and they'll say, oh, you know, we contacted this DJ company and got this kind of automated response, and, you know, DJ Bob will show up on your wedding date a year from now and we'll see you then. Whereas I like to take the approach where I really take the time to sit down and get to know couples, you know, phone calls, emails, face-to-face, over drinks, whatever it might be. Even do a walkthrough of the venue with them, just so we know logistically where everything's going to happen, from ceremony to cocktail to reception. So you want someone that's really going to get involved and get to know you and be able to deliver exactly the party that you want that night. So
Yeah.
I think, yeah, that's some main parts.
That's a really great point. And something too, you know, that we always encourage, especially when you get personal, you know, DJs ask for like a song list, like what do you want to play? What do you do? What do you not want to play? And almost the do not playlist is almost just as important as the do playlist, I'm sure, especially for you, so you can get a vibe of what kind of music they like and what their personalities are and really what will help, you know, make it a success for them. So reading a crowd, I'm sure, can be a tough thing. So how
Yeah.
can you really tell? I mean, you've got all different ages, you've got all different people from all over the place. I mean, you do a really great job of it. So how do you do that?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, with that said, it's that's the fun challenge. I think I kind of touch on that, but that is the fun challenge of every single wedding to bar gig that I still do. Is, like I said, you don't know what you're walking into. Even though you'll meet with couples, get a sense of what they want vibe wise, music wise. You don't know what their friends are like, what their overall crowd is like. And so you're walking in, and you're the entertainment of the night. So you need to get 100, 150 people up and having a good time, and you know, mingling and everything. And I kind of start scoping out the crowds the second I get to the venues and people start trickling in, and even through just ceremony into cocktail hour and dinner. I'm kind of just getting a gauge and a sense of, you know, this might be more of it's a bit of a younger demographic. So maybe we're going to go a little more heavy on the top 40 pop stuff that night, versus if I can tell it's a demographic where it's like my age range of like, you know, mid 30s to, you know, early 40s or so. And I know it's going to be a little heavier 90s, early 2000s throwbacks. So I start really getting a sense of the crowd then. And once we hit open dance floor, it just comes down to paying attention, keeping your head up and paying attention to those 150 people directly right there in front of you, not keeping your head down or, you know, ignoring things. You want to pay attention to the body language of every song that you're playing and see what they're vibing on. Obviously, you can't please everyone, and that is one of the things I've learned over the years of doing this. But as long as you have the overall crowd going, you want to keep them moving, keep them engaged. You try not to pigeonhole one genre or time period of music too much either, because then you'll quickly alienate half the crowd. So I generally like to just kind of keep it moving, 2 to 3 songs of this, one or two songs of that, which makes it fun for me, makes it fun for the crowd. And I think that's a big part of just reading the crowd, is just paying attention to the body language the whole night.
Right. It's a lot of multitasking. I mean, you're
It is.
playing, you're queuing up, you're watching people. It's a lot of pressure. I'm glad, you know, I'm glad you're doing it. You've got it covered. So any like last tips or tricks for couples that are going into their wedding day and they, whether they're at the start of their planning process and they're thinking about their DJ or just like giving feedback to their DJ, we really want it to be a dance floor or we really want to make sure it feels like a party. Is there anything that they can do to kind of, help with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the biggest things, again, just touching on the personalization of it, is really working with your DJ to get the music across that you guys are into, whether it's chill stuff kind of early on in the night that we'll touch on during cocktail or dinner,
Mhm.
and specific dance party songs. There might be a big song that represents one side of the family or something like that. So just to know the specifics ahead of time, get those all downloaded and organized for the night. Tips and tricks to really start the actual dance party itself, and is keeping things moving along throughout the night with timeline and formalities. Don't let things kind of drag on or lose steam with the crowd. And once you open up the dance floor, I generally suggest to everyone, 99% of the time, I'll start off with old school funk soul Motown type of vibe, which is just cross generational. Everyone knows it, everyone loves it, gets everyone out there right off the bat. From there, you can kind of start touching on a little bit of the newer school funk soul, like JT and Bruno, and people still all love that, know that, they stay out there. And then from there, it's really anyone's game. And I don't really go in with the premeditated, I'm going to play this in this exact order. It's all live. It's all on the fly. You just feel them out. And again, it's just paying attention to the body language of that crowd, sticking to the couples do play and do not play list. I'm very, very strict about that, or try to be, hitting all the bullet point songs that they want. But yeah, it's just if you're having fun doing it, the crowd's going to have fun. And it's really a connection that you need to find and get into a rhythm with the crowd. So
Yeah, that's a really great point. You can't have a bad time if you see a DJ having
yeah,
a good time.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then also I second your thought on timeline. That's something we always take into consideration too as planners when we're putting it together and working with DJs is, at least personally, we're always like, let's get to a point, let's try to get all the formalities done in the beginning so then the dance floor is just open and we're not breaking up the dance floor to do any toasts or formalities. Like, just open it up to a party, and the timeline
Exactly.
definitely can contribute to that. So make sure your DJ is included in the timeline conversations is
Yes, big time. Very important.
definitely. So okay, awesome. So then I love to wrap up with a little bit of a lesson that you learned the hard way. So it could be something in wedding or events, or, as a small business owner or entrepreneur, we, especially in events and weddings, like you have mentioned, they're all different. We prepare the best we can, and sometimes we just learn something the hard way. So I'd
Yeah,
love to kind of hear something that maybe you have had the unfortunate but fortunate opportunity to learn the hard way.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, looking back when I started, around 08, 09-ish, and then getting into the wedding scene more seriously around 2009 and 10, I look back at that time period and how just unprepared I felt I was compared to now with going into a wedding. It's such a different animal, as I've said, to doing in the bar scene. And there's really, with a wedding, there's no room for error.
Mm.
And I treated it more or less like a bar gig when I first started out. I was, not on great equipment. I showed up an hour before start time, so I was rushing around. So I definitely learned over the years, and getting more and more into it and really wanting to keep pursuing it, is just the professionalism that you need to approach a wedding with.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot riding on all the vendors that day to kind of get on the same page, match up, and deliver this product, this amazing party to a couple. So I've definitely learned that, just being more prompt, being prepared. The week of a wedding for me at this point, I start on a Monday going through all the old emails with couples, making sure all the music is downloaded and organized and different playlists, going over my announcements, the names that I'm going to be calling out for speeches and introductions, and it's just a lot of prep that goes into it leading up to it. But it's fun work too. It's not something I don't want to do. It's just putting music together and just kind of reviewing things. But that's definitely what I've learned the hard way, is just being overly prepared.
Yeah, you definitely cannot be too overly prepared. I think
Not at all.
we learn that, it's better to have like too many papers printed out and too many lists than be looking for things. So
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thanks so much, Thomas, for taking some time to chat with me and learn a little bit more about you and talk about weddings. Definitely follow DJ TRex at DJ TRex Boston on Instagram and check out his site, djtrexmusic.com. Well, I will talk to you soon, Thomas, and hopefully we'll have one of these weddings this year. If not, if not, it'll be 2021. But
yeah. Thanks for having me. This was a blast, so appreciate it.
All right. Well, we'll talk soon. Take care.
Sounds good.